Hi, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins, and welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
Well, Lita, we are out here at the studio home of our production partners. That would be Hubcast Studios here in Vancouver.
Well, we got a busy show ahead, so let's get right to Our City Tonight. Well, we hope you're enjoying the show.
That's right. And speaking of shows, last fall, Our City Tonight had the exclusive opportunity to visit the set of the very popular international hit Van Helsing, which films in Surrey.
And I love the show. I'm certainly watching season 4, and it was really fun to sit down with this group of actors. So.
That's right. Yeah, now we aired part 1 last fall, which we could do, but we could not air part 2 until season 4 was well on the running. So now we can. Take a look at the interview we did, part 2 of our Van Helsing visit from last fall.
Well, I am lucky enough to be sitting here with the Oracle. Now, you made your first appearance on Van Helsing in season 2. Now, you gave me a little sneak peek at that it was supposed to be just a sort of pop in, but you've turned into something so much more.
Yeah, I've been really lucky to have the writers sort of helping to evolve my character over the last 2 seasons, and I was actually just supposed to be on as a day player in the finale of season 2, and then the Oracle got to grow and start interacting with more characters and controlling more people's lives.
You say that with this glint in your eye now, and I know you said earlier you don't have your teeth, and I was laughing. Sorry, Mom, but that's what my mom says to me. So I know it's a very scary character.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, and apparently you're thousands of years.
Yeah, I would say a good couple of thousands of years, give or take.
Okay, what's your best evolution with this character? Because you appeared again in season 3, and now you are going to be a big player in season 4.
When you say the best evolution, do you mean sort of the most interesting?
What's the most interesting? What's the most fun?
I keep hitting your mic. I would say, working with Chris, Sam, is such a treat. He's like a master, and I learned from him a huge amount just as an actor. But also getting to kind of imagine working from him as a child, shaping the type of vampire and leader that he becomes feels like the most complete arc that I get to work with. And the other characters I kind of get to dip in and out and come up with some of my own backstory about how I'm manipulating them, but I start to kind of love them as well. So it's a bit of a back and forth about whether it's all manipulation or whether it comes from a place of love and care as well.
Well, even the bad guys have the love, and you can see that with a lot of the development of the characters, and there's been some surprising changes too. You guys are always keeping us on our toes. Love this show. So thank you for spending some time with Our City Tonight. And
Thank
good
you for
luck.
having me.
Good luck in season 4.
Thank you.
Back here behind the scenes, I'm joined by a couple actors new to the show. It's Kia and Nicole, and we can't talk a lot about things because we don't want to do any spoiler alerts, but guys, let's start with the fact that you play sisters. Let's talk a little bit about your characters. We'll start with you, Kia.
Well, my character's name is Violet. She's a tough, spunky young woman ready for this apocalypse.
All right.
I know we're sharing microphones here. That's great.
I played Jack, Violet's sister, and Jack is, basically had to grow up in the apocalypse and fight her way through it.
Yeah.
And she's just, trying to find some deeper meaning in life and some connection.
I should say, speaking of fighting, we're actually on the set. You've just come from the set where you've done some stunt work and some fighting, so you guys are both tired. I'm glad you're here joining us. Can you talk a bit about what it's like to join a really popular, worldwide, phenomenal hit? How is that? Is it intimidating coming in? How has it been joining so far? I'll start with you, Nicole.
I'd say it's exciting more than intimidating.
Yeah.
And everybody's making sure that we're really comfortable and prepared, right?
Good.
You're walking into a machine that's been working and well-oiled for so long now that it's more of an awesome opportunity and a great learning opportunity. But the cool part of coming onto shows like this is the support you get from the show's supporters.
That's good to hear, because you just want to come in and add to it, don't you? You know, you don't want to disrupt anything. You're just coming in, as you said, joining a well-oiled machine. So, very nice. Kia, your thoughts?
Well, everyone's been absolutely amazing. I feel like we've become like this huge family, and they've accepted us. They taught us so much, and like you said, today's a big stunt day, and they've been breaking things down for us so that we could be these really spunky, badass characters that we are. Hope I can say that.
Well, you just did. This should
I just
be okay.
did?
Yeah, that's
okay,
all right.
cool.
And
But
you have a
it's-
gun, so there's not much I can say about
Yeah,
it. So.
this is, yeah.
One of the things I like to talk to actors about is when did you see that I want to do that? Now, I was teasing you about the fact that were you in a stroller when you said, I want to do that for a living? What was the inspiration, and we'll start with you,
The inspiration to be
to be an actor? Yeah, you've been doing it since 4?
Yeah, since I was 4, so it's always been in me. And since I was 4, I loved doing it. And I think as a kid, as a child actor, the directors and casting directors can see in you if you don't want to be doing it, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, good point.
And so that was never there. I've always wanted to do it. It's always been a part of me. And so as I grew up, I started to realize, wow, there's a big craft behind this and an art form behind this, and I developed like a huge respect for it and just curiosity for it, and I really love it. So it kind of became a huge part of me as I grew up, and it followed me through adolescence and now my young adult life.
Very nice. You get the kind of last word on this.
Well, I didn't start at that age. I actually started quite recently, like in high school, and I just was drawn to acting through the act of human connection, really looking at someone, really seeing someone, and like being able to play under certain circumstances, and like that to me is just so exciting. And also being able to work with people in the community on the film set, you become this amazing family, and I loved that. So that's what drew me to acting, like that whole process.
Very nice. We should both say you're both Canadian, aren't you?
Yes,
Very nice.
proudly Canadian.
Doing us proud here. Guys, thanks you for stopping by. I know it's a long day for you, and we wish you luck with season 4.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Lita and I continue to look back at some of our most popular segments from the last year, and one of those segments was our annual chat with the actors from The Young and the Restless. Well, it wouldn't be a summer for our City Tonight TV without meeting up with the actors from The Young and the Restless. It is Canada's #1 daytime drama, of course, #1 in the States, wins a whole bunch of Emmys. Kate Linder, one of the actresses from the show, brings up some of her actor friends in the show every year to put on a big charity event, and all the proceeds go to the Canucks for Kids Fund. Let's go see what the actors had to say again. This is our 8th year here, I'm happy to say. Here are the actors from The Young and the Restless. Well, what you're looking at is cover stories for TV Week, actually, with the woman I'm talking to right now. Over the years, Sharon Case, who plays Sharon, and you have so many last names that I'm just going to say
know,
Sharon
right?
Newman.
Sharon Newman.
Sharon Newman's.
That's what we do now.
That's right.
We're just back to that. That's just going to stay, I think.
For our viewers who live in the Vancouver area, I got to tell you, Sharon, the first time I interviewed you was one of the first times I've ever interviewed anybody from the YNR. Was 20 years ago at Planet Hollywood,
20
folks.
years ago was the last
20
time
years.
I was here
Yeah.
with you and working with this charity.
Boy, talk about a 90s thing, Planet Hollywood. Anyway, congratulations on all the years you've been on the show. It's a real testament to you as an actress and the character. Talk about playing Sharon for, over 2 decades, and how challenging it can probably at times to just keep fresh and new.
It is. It's really challenging, and it's really unique. There's no other acting job an actor would get in their career that would be quite like this, where you're playing a character for 20, 25, and 40 years. They don't teach you that in acting school, so you kind of have to figure it out as you go along. But, the great thing about it is I've gotten to do so many different kinds of storylines, and I've had so many great castmates. I've done, comedies and dramas. Obviously, I've done a lot of stunt work over the years. They've just written everything for me by now, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience, and what I really like about it also is your character grows and changes over the years. It's not like you're Sharon Newman is still her,
Yeah.
but she's the grown-up, and matured version of herself, and there's just no other genre where you can see that happen.
Yeah, you don't get as an actress. I mean, you started as like almost like a high school kid.
did.
Now you're the mother of, I want to say 2?
I don't know how many children I have anymore. I can't count.
We're going to say safely 2, conservatively
No,
2.
I have 3.
Three, sorry, okay. But yeah, that's a challenge. And not to mention that I always talk to actors that do what you do and say, the pace in which you do your craft on a show like this is pretty intense.
Yeah,
You're not shooting 2 pages a day
No.
like movies do.
Oh no, Mark and I had 10 or 15 scenes in a row last night that were really difficult. They were very wordy. They were several pages each scene. Especially Mark, thankfully not me, went on and on and on. He has so much dialogue. He's amazing. But yeah, that's crazy that we do that in a day. That wasn't all we did that day. Mark and I had a 5-scene set earlier in the morning. So it's a lot, but we like that. We get used to moving at that pace, and now I can't imagine shooting 2 pages a day. I would go crazy probably.
I can't imagine you guys being awake because two pages would be like, I want to be moving.
Yeah, we need to move. That's how we are at Soaps.
Well, this is a treat for our city tonight. We do this every year, as you know, viewers, but this is the first time we've had Beth Maitland on the show. And Beth, I would never say this to an actor, but I have been watching you since I was a kid, and I feel I can say that only because you were a kid when you came on this show. Oh my gosh, back in the early 80s. Talk about the decades of Tracy Abbott.
Oh my gosh, there's quite an overview because I'm in my 38th year there. And I started, I think, in 1984. So there was a young Tracy who was just out of school and learning,
Pool parties,
rock stars, Danny Romalotti, singing in concerts during the summer, diet pill addiction, overdose, crashing the car, getting arrested. I mean, there were so many things to squeeze into that decade. And then there was the mother Tracy, married to Brad, had baby Colleen, didn't marry Brad because he married my sister, and then Brad married me again, and then so that was the 90s, and then
And we're not even up to where you are. But you know what's interesting, in all seriousness, so one of the things I've loved about your character over the years is that you really, in all seriousness, have dealt with a lot of issues. One being the death of a daughter. That's the worst nightmare for a parent. And your daughter's character does come up quite, not all the time, but it's used wisely in so many scenes with other actors to help them through their pain. I think that your character has been a real inspiration to young women over the years. Talk a bit about that if you could.
I hope so. And I have also aged into a point where I feel like I fill a little niche in, we are missing Catherine Chancellor so much.
Jeanne Cooper.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
And everybody needs an auntie, a shoulder to cry on, someone to listen. And that, I also sort of represent every woman. I am not the typical, beautiful ingenue or whatever. I'm a real person. I'm a real person you can trust and talk to, and both Beth and Tracy. And so I think our Tracy represents a voice that is often not heard or not listened to, and it's my pleasure to do that.
I know you can't talk about anything that's happening because you shoot weeks and weeks in advance, and the executive producer would kill you if you said anything, but I'm hoping there's some good stuff romantically coming up for you.
I don't know if that's true. We'll have to wait and see. And I think if you watched last week, I don't know if this will be today, but if you watched last week, Tracy tells Kane that they have to just be friends. And I think it's a really interesting, maybe that will morph into something, maybe they will continue, who knows? I don't. So, but what I do know is it also was the perfect opportunity to say, but I do know that I am deserving of affection, attention. This has awakened things in Tracy that have long been asleep since Colleen's death.
That was a good point. Yeah, that was the last thing I saw. And again, a really inspirational moment for women out there because it was about, I've forgotten all these things, parts of my life, successful author, your character.
You start living for everybody else, and then you shut things down you feel like you don't need, but we all need it. And so we all maybe have to remember we're deserving.
I would say, wrapping this up, Beth, who plays Tracy, that your family is in need of someone that looks after everybody but them, because the Abbotts are lovely people, but boy, they get into a lot of mess.
Pretty complicated batch.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
We decided to look back at the Whistler Film Fest that we attended in December of 2019. That's when I got to meet and interview the very talented actor Andrea Zhukova for her world premiere of Promised Land. Check this out.
Well, we're here at Whistler Film Festival, and I am on the red carpet with one of the great actors here that is premiering her film Promised Land. Andrea, I saw the film. Wow, it's gritty, it's dark, there's a journey your character takes. Can you describe that to our audience?
Yes, it's definitely a journey. I play a character, her name is Velvet, and she is a woman, a troubled woman, who has been disadvantaged since her young age. And she happens to be a prostitute, which is a byproduct of her background, I think, that will be revealed in the film. And the role was very important to me because I wanted to give a voice to people like her who've had background, maybe were kidnapped or had some traumatic past, and perhaps because of that they took a path that is not so stereotypical, and maybe they end up as a prostitutes, because I think that especially in Vancouver, but in all major cities, we do have a lot of people that live on the street or work on the street, and they are human beings. And
this is it's not a fantasy role. It really is dark. It's true to life. There is a lot of violence. And how did you pour yourself into this role? What did you have to be thinking about to become Velvet?
I think when I first read the script, I really thought of, okay, what can I bring in from my own life first? And then I used to travel a lot, and I lived in different cities. I knew a lot of people. I read a lot, watch a lot of films. So there were certain images that kind of came to my mind, and I used those. And then I just kind of carved her and created her. It was a bit of a process. Yeah. And for the violent scenes, I just try to be really truthful of how would a woman feel in those situations, and how can I most authentically portray someone who is in that kind of situation, because I wanted people to kind of see not necessarily what it looks like, but what is she going through in her face and her expression, and I think you can probably see that in the film.
Mm-hmm. We did, and you become a survivor, not just a victim. Yeah. Your strength comes out, which for women, we love to see that. That's really incredible. Now, you're a musician, you are a international model, and as well as an actor, which you've thrown in to be an actor completely now. And I read that you, not until about 8 years ago, did you really, really throw yourself into this, and you're making some big headway. How did you make that decision?
I think I always wanted to be an actor, but because I was an immigrant, it took a while for me to actually speak sufficient English to be able to pursue the career. And I had opportunities to go travel and be a model, which I thought it was great for personal growth and for exposure and getting to know people. And then when I finally spoke enough English, I just thought, I'm going to study. And I studied in Toronto and Montreal, and then slowly relocated myself back to Vancouver. And I thought, if I give this a try, it must be 100%. That's the only way, because that's the only way to do something, I think, in my world.
I agree. And wouldn't you love to have that acting coach see you now?
Yes, I would. I'm sure he has. I think he has.
Do you forgive him?
I forgive him. I forgive everyone. I don't think, to hold a grudge, it's bad for me, or it's bad for people. So I forgive him, and if I see him here, I'll probably come up to him and I'll say, hi, it's me, and maybe you remember me from when I was 18, and here I am, and I'm very happy that you said that to me, because it kind of gave me this fuel to actually pursue what I really wanted to do.
Well, the biggest geniuses have had somebody in their life say you can't do it, and they've gone and done it anyway. So congratulations on your debut, and absolutely great movie. Thanks for spending some time with Our City Tonight.
Thank you.
We're back here at Hubcast Studios. We hope you're enjoying Our City Tonight. For the latest Inside Business segment, we're joined by Jeff Volpe. He is the president of ViewSonic Americas. He's joining us from California. And Jeff, welcome to our show.
Oh, it's great to be here, Jim. Thanks for having us.
You're quite welcome. Of course, you're in California. We're here in Vancouver. We're doing this via Skype. But I'll tell you what, with what's going on in the world right now, if we were in the same city, we would most likely be talking via Skype again to practice social distancing and everything in that category. Before we get to that, we've got a couple things we're going to do for our viewers. But for people that may not know of ViewSonic, tell us about this big company.
Sure, we're a global company. We focus on display technology and innovations within the display and how people interact. So we do a lot of collaboration, a lot of different styles of displays that allow people really to get the most out of their technology experience, whether it be in gaming, whether it be in education, whether it be in the corporate space, really allow people to be as productive, as comfortable, as functional as possible over short and long periods of time.
And Jeff, talk a bit about how you and your company, how you've handled the transition for a lot of your employees from the office to the home.
That was certainly a surprise for everybody. And, first and foremost, we're very focused on trying to keep everybody healthy and happy, both our customers and our partners, as well as our employees. So we had to quickly mobilize our force and get them home to be as functional as possible. We like to talk about keeping business continuity at 100% or more. So we had to work with our IT folks, we had to work with our management team and our executive team to mobilize our business and get our people home safe and sound. So we had to go through a number of different strategies to get the right technologies to be sending our people home. We had to make sure we had the right kind of cadence calls, the right kind of team calls, video conferencing calls, and really get ourselves into a mode of remote working. Very challenging, but I am thoroughly pleased by the results thus far.
That leads us nicely into what I wanted to talk to you about next, because this really is your wheelhouse and what you do and what you can offer. But, I spent a lot of my working time at home anyway, so the adjustment hasn't been too difficult. But for people that are working at home for the first time, let's get some advice from you. And I'm going to call this the ViewSonic top tips for working at home, because you mentioned to me the other day something that seems common sense, but it didn't occur to me, and that is make sure you have a good monitor when you're working at home. Talk a bit about that and some of the other tips that people should pay attention to as they transition to working at home. Many of these people for the very first time.
Well, I think first-time people working out of their home, they've got a lot of different realities that they've got to deal with. First and foremost, you've got to get yourself set up with the proper technology. You're going to need a device that mimics what you have in your office. So the size of the monitor, the resolution that the monitor offers, you're going to need a webcam, you're going to need keyboard and mouse wirelessly if you can. You're going to need good internet speed, and you're going to need a computer, one that allows you to be as functional and productive as you have been while you're at the office. I think the second thing you're going to need to make sure you can do with your IT folks is make sure you can connect in to your data files via a VPN so that you have an opportunity to be truly connected to your cloud devices that are in a secure environment. I think from there you got to move into space. You got to make sure that you set yourself up with a space that is comfortable, a chair, a desk, a light, a space that preferably is an opportunity for you to close yourself from the rest of the family or the rest of the house. Insulated from dog barking, those fun kinds of things that you got to deal with, so that when you go into your workspace, you're there to work, and gives you a chance to separate yourself from the rest of the house. Now, I'm fortunate, I've got a room here that I've been able to isolate myself in, but a lot of people don't. Maybe they've got a studio or an apartment. They've got to deal with the fact that this is going to be part of their environment. Well, carve out a small little space in your apartment or studio and get working in that small space. For both people who have a private office or a workspace, after you've been working for a little while, you got to think about balance. And the balance tip is when you are feeling like you're not as productive or not as, productive or positive, or you're just not being kind of in the space where you're functional, get up, walk around, do some exercise, get a glass of water, do the kinds of things that you need to rejuvenate momentarily and stretch and etc., and then get back into your workspace and keep that balance. So the other thing I think that's important when you're working at the home is you're going to feel a little bit isolated, and no matter who you are, no matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, we get the joy of having to work with people, and sometimes you're going to feel separated when you're working out of your house. So one of the things you can do is really embrace video conferencing, Zoom, Skype, viewboard.com, a lot of different strategies that can allow you to be connected with people. And that includes social media. Frankly, don't shut yourself out. People are doing fun things during the day. They're getting together and having, a virtual lunch together, or they're getting together afterwards and having a virtual happy hour. Things that keep you connected and keep you enjoying your environment, the friends you work with, the people that are surrounding you. Albeit digital, albeit virtual, it's still connecting you. And I think those are some of the really quick tips on the top of mind. Is make sure your functional technology, make sure your space is clean, and make sure you're giving yourself a balance to try to get some normalcy in this really unusual time.
Jeff, that's great advice, and I should say that I've already experienced 2 virtual happy hours in the last few weeks. So we appreciate you throwing that in. And again, if you want more information, we should mention viewsonic.com. Lots of great tips, more information on how you can make the transition from the office to your home. It's Jeff Volpe. He is the president of ViewSonic Americas. Jeff, thank you for joining us from California. I can't wait for our next interview when I can shake your hand and interview you in person. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much. Be happy, be safe, be healthy.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. And that is this edition of Inside Business here on Our City Tonight. Well, we're back here where we began the show at the studio home of our production partners, Hubcast Media.
But before we go, we want to acknowledge the passing of a media colleague and friend, Nathan Fong. Nathan trained as a chef, but he was also a multifaceted food ambassador. He was an award-winning food stylist, chef for the BC government, food writer, and a journalist. He was a true connector.
He was also a frequent guest on Our City Tonight.
And we loved having Nathan on our show, and especially covering some of his charitable endeavors, including the Passions event.
We will miss him very much, and we'd like to dedicate this episode of Our City Tonight to him. I'm Jim Gordon.
I'm Lita Leapins.
Thanks for watching Our City Tonight.
Sponsorship for the Health and Wellness segment is provided by Anorex Botanicals Limited.
Inside Real Estate segments are brought to you by Team Kerr, real estate advice for life. Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Some of my clothing has been provided by Blushing Boutique, located in downtown Vancouver and online. Youngblood Mineral Cosmetics provided by Soluzione Spa Products.